Does the name on your insurance policy really matter? Shakespeare said that a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. And though I think he's right, I'm pretty sure it still wouldn't have any coverage on your insurance policy. You have questions? We have answers. Let's get into it. To start off, we need to understand what the named insured is on an insurance policy. The named insured is the policy owner, the policy holder, the one that has the most rights under the policy and access to all the policy coverages. You know who the named insured is on an insurance policy really simply because it's basically the name, individual, business, LLC, that's listed next to the words named insured on a policy declarations page. Depending on your insurance policy, the definition of named insured could be expanded beyond just the name and individual or LLC that's listed on the declarations page. But that ends up being subject to interpretation. As an example, for an LLC, the manager or member of the LLC is a named insured, but only with respect to conduct of the business. What does that mean? Well, it depends. We generally understand it to mean that as long as the member or manager of the LLC is working on behalf of the business, that they would be considered an insured under the policy. But the reality is that when a claim comes in, the allegation that's being made, the claim that's being made against the individual or the company might not actually frame the question, frame the claim that way. It may say that the individual was working separate from the company. Then are they a named insured? I've seen this claim many times over the years, and that sometimes it's been covered, sometimes it hasn't been covered. The reality is it depends on so many factors that are outside of your control. So how do you make sure that your insurance policy responds? Simple. Make sure that all the names you're doing business under are named insureds on an insurance policy. Whether multiple names on a single policy or single names on multiple policies, you want to make sure that all of the entities you're doing business as are named insured so that they have all of the coverages, all of the policy rights available to them. Two examples we see all the time where there are multiple entities acting basically as one, and named insured becomes extremely important. One example is when you have a business that's operating out of a building that has similar ownership as the business. So think an LLC as a holding corporation that owns the building and a business that's a different corporation or LLC that's operating out of the building. A lot of times there's this assumption that because the business is operating out of the building that it will protect the landlord, the LLC or individual that is the landlord. And there are certain instances where that might be the case, but it's extremely narrow. It's the opposite of what we want to look for. It's the opposite of being a named insured. So to provide the most coverage for both the entity or individual that owns the building and the entity or individual that runs the business, we want to make sure that both are named insured on insurance policies, whether together or separate policies. The negative of doing them together is, well, there's a reason why you created the multiple entities to separate the building from the business. And putting them on one insurance policy is basically combining them and giving you one limit. The negative of putting them on individual insurance policies basically means you're going to be paying a little bit more premium, but then you have full limits available to each named insured based on the different policies that were purchased. No one solution is right for everybody, and not always can they be combined. So this is a conversation you should have with your trusted insurance advisor. The second example we see all the time with multiple entities or businesses with similar ownership working together are an importer and a distributor. A lot of time, a business that's importing products from outside of the United States will do that under one entity, a corporation or LLC. And then they will distribute that product. They will sell that product into the United States under a separate corporation or LLC. The reality is that you need to have coverage for both entities. One would be considered the manufacturer and the other would be considered the distributor. But we want to make sure that if a lawsuit were to arise because of the product, that both entities have protection. In both of these examples, a claim could easily arise where both entities are named in the lawsuit. A slip and fall at the business where they sue both the business and the landlord, the owner of the building, or with an importer and a distributor, they're trying to find who's considered the manufacturer of that product, which is often considered to be the importer. And so they may sue the business that distributed it and the business that brought it into the United States as manufacturer. So what happens if only one of the companies is a named insured on an insurance policy in a claim that involves both entities? In all likelihood, the company that's not a named insured is going to have to pay for all of the claim costs, attorney's fees, court costs, and any claim payment that might arise from the lawsuit out of their own pocket. That hit to the balance sheet is going to make a serious disruption to cash flow and could affect both companies, even though one did have insurance. Another question we often get is about additional insureds. There's a lot of confusion as to what an additional insured is compared to what a named insured is. But an additional insured is not a named insured. An additional insured endorsement only provides a narrow scope of coverage to the policy that goes in tandem with the named insured's coverage on the policy, where a named insured has all policy rights and access to all the policy coverages. So additional insured is good if there is no other option, but the reality is, in the examples we've given, you want to be named insured. You want to have access to all policy rights. You want to have access to all policy coverage, not the narrow coverage that's limited to the relationship between the additional insured and the named insured. Now, based on the specific business, based on the specific situation, getting listed as named insured for multiple entities on one policy or having multiple policies that have to interact together can be a pretty complicated process. And that's where your trusted insurance advisor comes in. You must have this conversation with them. Let them know exactly all the entities that you are doing business as, whether they're fictitious names, different corporations, different LLCs, or if you have some business that is, an individual that's working alongside a corporation. We want to make sure, your trusted advisor will want to make sure that all of the possible named insureds are listed so that the coverage is there at the time of a loss. Not all insurance is created equal. Though I've talked about a few general terms and conditions, you'd have to read the exact terms and conditions of your policy to see how it would respond at the time of a loss. Talk to your trusted insurance advisor. Be upfront with them. Make sure that they're fully aware of all of your business needs. That way, they will be able to help you understand the coverages that are available, the coverages that are not available, and what can be done to mitigate some of that for your businesses. If you don't have a trusted insurance advisor, or you're looking for a second opinion, reach out to us at www.topazzoinsurance.com. There you'll be able to chat, text, email, and even start your own insurance quote right there online. If you'd like more informational videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. If you found this information useful, please hit like and share it with someone else who you think might need it. Thank you.